We want to get you started on your anti-inflammatory diet. I wanted to take you through what that is and some of the reasoning behind the recommendations that we're going to make for you. The three big things that I want you to focus on getting started is I want you to drink half your body weight in ounces of water per day. So really easy, just take your body weight, divide it by 2, and I need you drinking that much water every day. It's going to assist with your detox and it's going to help get inflammation out of your body. The second point that I want you to focus on is eating every 2 to 3 hours. I want you to eat your 3 main meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and have a snack in between each of those meals. So your schedule should look breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner, snack. It doesn't have to be a lot of food, but it just needs to be happening at that time frame. The third thing that I want you to focus on is going to be with each of your main meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, I want you to eat a protein and a vegetable. So in your patient workbook, you're gonna have a detailed plan as to the foods I want you to focus on eating and some of the foods that I'm gonna ask you to avoid. I'm gonna go through those with you right now. Foods that I want you to focus on eating of vegetables of almost any kind. Okay, we'll probably never have a conversation when you're eating too many vegetables. We gave you a list. It is not comprehensive, but try to get as many in as you can. I do want you to get some complex carbohydrates in. So that could be quinoa, buckwheat, or brown rice. Fermented foods might be a food that you're not very familiar with, but I want you to try to get it in. It's gonna help with your GI tract function, and it's a very healthy brain food. Your proteins that I want you to focus on are gonna be fish, chicken, turkey, and lamb. These are more lean proteins, and there's just not as much inflammation when you eat these particular proteins. Beans are gonna be okay. So black beans, pinto beans, garbanzo beans, have at it. Fruits. I'm okay with fruits as long as they're in the lower glycemic index scale. So for example, plums, apples, peaches, pears, berries would be recommended. Coconut products of any kind are gonna be allowed. So coconut oils, coconut butter, coconut milk would be some great options for you. Herbal teas and decaffeinated green teas would be allowed, as well as almond milk and coconut milk. Oils, I really want you to focus on olive oil, coconut oil, and flaxseed oil. Nuts and seeds are gonna be a great snack option. So almonds, Brazil nuts, cashews, and sunflower seeds, for example. Foods that we're gonna ask you to avoid are for one of 3 reasons. One, it's just not a health food in general, and we want you to avoid it, especially while you're going through this process with us. Second reason is it just might be an inflammatory food that causes inflammation in your body. As we're trying to heal your brain, we want to limit inflammation as much as possible. And the third reason is that you might have a food sensitivity to that food that you're not aware of. So we're gonna remove those foods, and as we go through this process, we'll add them back in through a process called food provocation testing to see if you can tolerate those foods. We're gonna ask you to avoid all sugars and sweeteners initially as we get started. We're gonna ask you to try to avoid the higher glycemic index fruits such as watermelons and mangoes and pineapples. I do want you to avoid tomatoes, white potatoes, and corn. Very inflammatory and a lot of sugars in some of these foods. I do want you to avoid gluten. The reason being is it can be very inflammatory, and a lot of people have gluten sensitivities that they might not be aware of. I am going to ask you to avoid dairy initially, especially for the first 21 days. So do your very best to avoid cheese, butters, things of that nature. I do want you to avoid soy, any soy products. And you got to watch out for soy. It's hidden in a lot of products. We're going to ask you to avoid alcohol, soda, and coffee. And then proteins to avoid are going to include shellfish, pork, and processed meats. Oils. We already talked about the oils I want you to focus on. I want you to avoid peanut oil, soy oil, and cottonseed oil in all of your cooking. So as you do your best with this anti-inflammatory diet, have fun with it. Don't get overwhelmed. Don't get too stressed out, and know that you're now limiting inflammation, you're limiting toxins, and you're going to give your body and brain the best chance to succeed.